private legal practitioner and senior law lecturer, Dr. Justice Mensa, on this development. Many thanks for your time this evening, counsel. And you are on record to have said that there is no proper avenue for resolving an illegality outside the court. Today, the Apex Court has spoken. What do you make of the judgment?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the judgment is a confirmation of everything that we have been saying. There's one fundamental principle of law which is enshrined also in our Constitution. And even without our Constitution, the common law tradition all over the common law world have agreed that there is no way a person should take a decision which would affect another person without first hearing from the person whom the decision will be affected. So that is the position of our law. And so when it happened that the High Court was hearing a matter in respect of which the Electoral Commission has declared a result and wants to re-declare those results or want to recollate, in other words, want to collate again and consider the result. We were always wondering, why wouldn't the court allow the persons who have been declared as winners to be heard in the matter? It is something so fundamental to our common law jurisprudence and also in our constitutional law, and the Supreme Court has held over and over again that there is no way anybody should be a decision of a court or any administrative authority be taken in respect of a person without hearing the person. So as far as the case goes, it is the affirmation of what has always been the position of the law, that the High Court was wrong and breached the rules of natural justice when it decided those cases, those 6 cases, without hearing the persons who were supposed to be the adverse parties in the matter. So that was the decision, and I think that the decision confirmed the long-standing principle of law.
Now, with the Supreme Court's decision, what are the immediate implications for parliamentary representation in these constituencies? I mean, Director for Legal Affairs for the NPP, Gary Nemako, says nothing has changed. So then I am asking, can the candidates in these 4 constituencies continue to hold themselves out as MPs elect?
Well, clearly, I think it's obvious that a lot has changed. I mean, you cannot say that nothing has changed. You know, what used to be the case was that in respect, so there are 2 situations here. There are 6 constituencies, and there are 2 situations here. The two of those 6 constituencies, you would agree that results have not been fully collated and declared in respect of those 2 constituencies. That is Ahafra North South, and then Nsawa Magreju. Those 2 constituencies, there was no conclusion as to who won the election prior to 20th December. And then the second situation has to do with the 4 constituencies where collation had been done, results have been declared. Our position, the NDC's position before the court, was specifically that to the extent that those persons have already been declared, you couldn't have taken a decision in respect of them without hearing them. And the Supreme Court upheld and said that those 4 constituencies, as far as the orders of the High Court are concerned, they have been quashed. And being quashed, what it means is that we have to go back to the High Court and litigate the question whether after declaring a person as a winner of an election, the Electoral Commission would, go and recollate and redeclare another person as the winner of the election. So that is the merit of the issue, and that issue is still standing. What this decision means is that once the High Court order of 20th December was quashed, then the status quo ante, which is that what used to be immediately before the decision was made, will stand pending any other orders from the High Court. And what was the situation before the decision? The situation before the decision was that the NDC candidates for Ablekuma North, for Tema Central, for Techiman South, and also for PAA KWESI Central, NDC candidates were declared as winners. That was the situation immediately before that decision. So that is what the situation will be. Now the court has ordered that in terms of the merits should be heard next week. And what is the question to be determined in respect of the merit? The merit is simply a question whether after declaring one candidate as winner, the EC could recollate and declare another person as the winner, so that the second person will become the declared winner of the election. Now that question has to be resolved. That is what we are going to court on Tuesday to argue.
The High Court was criticized for granting orders without hearing or interested parties, and you mentioned that. What should the new High Court judge consider in the fresh hearings to avoid the legal pitfalls highlighted by the Supreme Court?
Well, the Supreme Court has actually streamlined the proceedings. For example, it says that the NDC candidate should be allowed to file their affidavit in opposition, and they have 2 days to do that, which means that they have Monday and Tuesday to do that work. Right. Now, when they will file an affidavit in opposition challenging the authority of the Electoral Commission to recollate and redeclare the result. When that happens, the work of the High Court is cut out. They have to now make a pronouncement on the question whether after declaring one candidate as a winner, the EC would have authority to recollate and declare another candidate as a winner. Mind you, the position of the law which the NDC we have always put forward is that you cannot declare one person as a winner of an election and then cancel it by yourself and declare another person as a winner subsequently. And that the position of the law is that once you have made a declaration, then anybody who has an issue with that declaration in respect of whether there was a fraudulent transaction, whether there was intimidation, whether there was illegality, bribery, corruption, all those are grounds for challenging the validity of the election, which you can do after the election has been properly gazetted, and you have to do it within 21 days by way of what? Election petition. There is no provision in our law which allows someone who has declared a result to now raise allegation of fraud, allegation of wrongdoing, and to nullify the declaration and have a re-declaration. So that is the question that the High Court would have to determine next week.
Dr. Justice Remsai, thank you so much for speaking with us here on News Tonight. He is a private legal practitioner and also a senior law lecturer. Let's come in studio. All the proceedings that were happening at the Apex Court today are man. Our legal affairs correspondent Mutala Inusa was there. He saw us live in action. He brought us up to speed, reporting right from the court. Mutala, the experience and the mood in courts, please engage us on that.
Of course, it's always fulfilling when you have the opportunity to appear at the Apex Court, the highest court of the land, and to have matters like this, very emotional, very sensitive matters, and matters of political nature, twist. If you look at the courtroom, the numbers, the gathering, the euphoria, and it tells you how people have put so much on election-related matters, especially so also because if you look at the decision made by the High Court, and the parties felt that no, it wasn't right, let's go to the Supreme Court and find out. I mean, at some point in time, having calls, messages from people out, what is happening, what is going to happen, what is the situation like, those who know. I was like, yes, hold on, the argument have been made. And when you come to the Supreme Court and argument have been made, you could see a trend. You may not be able to predict straight away, but in relation to this very case, you note that the panel tried to ask questions to be clear on certain things, and from where the responses were going, you could have that sense of understanding that, of course, it was clear on the face of whatever has happened that, look, it's just a matter of time the Supreme Court was going to make an interesting order. So for when they retired, almost 3 hours, over 3 hours, before they came back with their decision. The decision was, you've heard the lawyers made it clear, 4 in relation to the court quashing that order being made by the High Court on grounds that the other interested parties were not given the opportunity to be heard by way of their joinder motion being overlooked and all that. So now the timelines have been set. The court is saying that those ones, we've cleared it. The High Court didn't try to do that, but in relation to the two, Samara Adrejiri and then Ahafanundof, the court made that very clear. But what was interesting were the orders that the court made. The NDC is to file their statement, okay, within 2 weeks from today. The court was clear from today. Then the case for mandamus, which formed the basis of the order given by the High Court for the EC to collate, is now going to be freshly heard. And now a different judge is supposed to be assigned, and the party will have to appear before it and order. So in relation to this one, in fact, it was a very packed Supreme Court room today. Very packed. When I say packed, it's packed because there were a lot of people who were even sitting on the floor. On the floor, and when you want to even pass, it was very difficult. And for those who come to the Supreme Court, whether they understand what was happening, whether they don't, for them, they have come to the Supreme Court to support their respective candidate. And for the decision, there were a lot of people who welcomed it. But of course, the other side will also think that no, the Supreme Court has spoken, doesn't change anything. But what really is the issue? In the coming days, we'll get the answer to all that. But it's a very interesting session today.
Let's get the reactions, as Mutala rightly introduced, from the parliamentary candidates and even from some persons of both sides of the House. Let's take a look at that.
Earlier, I told you that we're optimistic and hopeful that it's going to, the true mandate of the people will still stand. We're grateful to the court for heeding our request. The law has spoken. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
We're happy to go and continue. I think it's important that everybody understands that this is just the beginning of our work. And I think that this experience equips us to be able to represent all our people a lot better. So we're very grateful and for the opportunity. And also we want to say hello to Ghanaians and our constituents. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Well, I think it's a good day for country. The whole world is watching, not just Ghana. So I think it's just the beginning of coming together as one people. And then I think it redeems the image to an extent of our courts and our judges.
So you could see clearly that parliamentary candidates for the NDC, I could see Baba Sadiq being the first, Ebi Bright and Central, and then Irabna Oben, that's Ablikuma North. Yes, Ablikuma North constituency. But those are the only people you engage.
Yeah, so we engaged the NPP side as well. Frank Anodompre was very happy with the decision that has been.
I recall initially he didn't want to speak to you.
Initially he didn't want to, but after the decision he wanted to speak to you briefly on that. Then Ekwefriye made a point that, look, the decision of the Supreme Court hasn't really changed anything, and so were the views of some of the candidates who were involved in relation to. I will bring you that sound by but the lawyers have been speaking in relation to them, and let's hear what they have to say moments after the court decision.
The only thing I want to say is that we are grateful to the court and nothing else. And Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
To show me hugging them and talking to them. And this year they are not enemies. We are not fighting. It's a question of the brains. We are not fighting. No, not after today's ruling per se. It's peace post-elections. You realize that after these elections, post-election violence. We don't understand. There must be peace in the country. If we win elections, what about the destruction of state properties and all these things? It's not good. So let's all learn to abide by rule of law. That is the way I see it. That is all. So please, all parties, political parties, especially our brothers in the NDC, we should learn to respect the law. That is all.
That is Gary Nimaku, that's the counsel for the NPP, also giving us a perspective. So very interesting, this point.
Yeah, I could see